The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, he'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
The East Lindsey series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop located at 20 Ropery Road, Gainsborough, or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Welcome back to East Lindsey once again, folks. Now this one is not going to take me very long. This one's going to be quite a challenge to make it more than 8 minutes. As you know, I do like my videos to be more than 8 minutes long. This one might not be. We'll see. There's virtually nothing here. There's not even a church, although there is the footprint of where it used to be. This is the first of the Barkwith twins. It's West Barkwith. West Barkwith, West Boar enclosure. Next up in East Lindsey we have a pair of twins to cover. With a west and an east version, those would be the Barkwiths, both situated on the A157 between Rugby and Louth. They were historically associated with a place called Panton and a now deserted hamlet called Hardwick. The area of land covered by the Barkwiths and Panton shows evidence of human activity going back thousands of years, and this is evidenced by recent field surveys which have regularly produced Roman finds. Panton lies within the parish boundaries of East Barkwith, so we'll cover that tomorrow. First up we have West Barkwith, by some margin the smaller of the pair. Most people who regularly travel north along the A157 will be familiar with West Barkwith, but few ever stop. Both the Barkwith twins were recorded in the Domesday Book, but it mentions them as one entity. Between them they had 26 households and a church. You won't find much more than that in West Barkwith today, but you might be hard pushed to find the church. It was dedicated to All Saints and declared redundant in 1981. 2 years later it was demolished, leaving behind only a few landscape scars as clues to its existence. West Barkwith cannot claim to have much more in the way of notable landmarks, although the Rectory still exists and it's worth a piece of its own. Other than that, it was a bit of a struggle to come up with anything else that West Barkwith is famous for. Did that stop me making this episode? Not a chance. Let's have a look. This is West Barkwith, a real blink and you'll miss it sort of place on the A157 between Louth and Rugby. It's pretty much always been associated with its much larger neighbour, East Barkwith, and with the hamlets of Panton and Hardwick. East Barkwith, West Barkwith and Panton were all mentioned in the Domesday Book, as was Hardwick, which is now deserted. Together, the piece of Lincolnshire they all cover has historically been pretty productive. The Romans were certainly active in these parts. Unfortunately, West Barkwith kind of gets the short end of the stick when compared to the other three settlements. It's so small and seemingly insignificant enough that it's overshadowed by its neighbours. That means it's the ideal time to mention the Parish History Group, which was created to cover everything within the villages. It was formed in 2014 with support from the Parish Council and a grant from the National Heritage Lottery Fund. Ever since, it's been actively researching the history of the Barkwiths, collecting information and artefacts, putting on exhibitions and organising local events, including a street party and field surveys. Now, of course, the main road here in West Barkwith is the A158. You've seen it a couple of times already, and you can hear it as well behind the camera right now. There are a couple of lanes that go off to the left and the right. There's one that goes to West Torrington, which is where I've parked my car, and this one here is a dead end that leads to the Manor House. Next to this particular road, there is the site of the old church. It's no longer there anymore, it was demolished. Let's have a look at it. West Barkwith's former church was demolished in 1983, but even so we can still see where it was. Dedicated to All Saints, it was extensively rebuilt by Withers between 1867 and 68. Most of the fabric was of Victorian date, though the West Tower was perpendicular in style and it had an original decorated style window towards the eastern end of the south aisle. If you didn't know the church was once here, OS maps are your friends. They still mark the site. The church was declared redundant in the early 1980s and was demolished shortly afterwards, with Pevsner declaring it had gone by 1989. In actual fact, he was well behind the times because it came down 6 years earlier. The churchyard remains, however, and the outline of the former church itself have been preserved. The site of the church lies right next to an adjacent manorial complex, and both are surrounded by earthwork remains of what was a much larger medieval settlement. The earthworks include ditches and possible former moats. Okay, once beyond the site of the church, it then becomes the A158 for a mile or so before you hit East Barkwith, which is the neighbour to West Barkwith. It's much bigger than this. We're going to be checking that out tomorrow. I'm going to hop in the car now because there's one more thing I want to show you using that. The only other building that's probably worth a mention in West Barkwith is the former Rectory. Now a house because there's no church to serve, the Rectory dates from the late 18th century and underwent alterations in the 20th. It has wooden eaves, a pan-tile roof, and is constructed of red brick. It's a real shame that this lovely house and several others in West Barkwith are usually overlooked by people. When your village is this tiny and on a main road, it's so easy to sail past, blissfully unaware of the history that surrounds you. Now you know a bit more about West Barkwith, and tomorrow we're off to see its much larger neighbour. East Barkwith has oodles more, and it'll be a proper walk too. See you there, folks. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.